My apologies, but before we move along, a colleague has tasked me with a matter which I'd rather not leave unresolved. It involves finding a certain concept-engraved crystal and the quick-fingered Aureus which made off with it.
An Aureus, you say? I think we might have seen the culprit before being distracted by that business with the shark. Would you like us to follow its ethereal trail? That would, of course, lead us only to the Aureus. There is no guarantee that it hasn't dropped.
But that's literally what they call her in Japanese. That's literally her name. Please, even that much would be enormously helpful. While you're hunting down the thief, I can follow behind and scour the forest floor just in case. But I ask you to join the search. I'd appreciate another pair of eyes to cover the land to the west of here. Many thanks. There's a small bridge leading to Poitin Oikos. Let us meet up there once we've exhausted our efforts. Our last searcher returns. I'm afraid the Aureus no longer had the crystal, nor was I able to find it as I followed in its wake. I don't suppose you've heard any better. I found a crystal. That's what she said. I handed her the crystal and she just burped. Wonderful. Now I can focus on your tale without the missing concept nagging at my mind. Have you always had a knack for finding things? I've often been asked to do so. Oh, you too? Some of us seem destined to always be searching for ourselves and for others. Long ago, when I held the seat of Azim, I was forever trekking back and forth across the star in search of answers to people's problems. Naturally, the seed for such journeys has lessened considerably since I entrusted the position to my whimsical successor. Yet I am still eager to come running should an old acquaintance or new interest require my personal attention. That is what brings me to Elpis, in fact. Many times has my presence been requested, my opinion sought considering the habitat of this or that creation. Agreeing to help locate that missing crystal was a minor distraction, which now promises to become a major revelation. How strange and wonderful it is the way one thing leads to another. Wouldn't you agree? Strange indeed. Thank you again for your timely help. Now then, 'tis time I return this stolen property. If you will go on ahead to my accommodation, I will join you as soon as I have attended to that task. Follow the path straight ahead to the building at the top of the slope. I have the entire place to myself so we can speak without fear of being disturbed or overheard. Welcome to my temporary abode. Please make yourself at home while I put on some tea. It's fine. It's fine to do that all the time. Feels great, I promise. Don't worry, I'll do it one day and then I'll just break my neck. It's voice acted.
いい香りですね。ほっとする。
お菓子もあればよかったのですが、旅暮らしの癖が抜けなくて、どうも身軽さを優先してしまうの。お茶のおかわりならいくらでも。お湯は温かいまま保っていますから、焦る必要もありません。ゆっくりでいい。聞かせてもらえますか？あなたのことと、ここに来た理由について。
All of it? Everything? Just say like the world I come from. Yeah. Okay, the picture I came from. Calamity called the final days has befallen the world. The world has been sundered, broken into shards. Mankind is being forced to flee the star. I mean, all of these. But our issue is... I'm curious what Vinot would say if I said mankind is being forced to flee the star, since that was her plan. That's the plan that she comes up with. But yeah, I'm gonna say this one.
Junを追って話してみろ。
This is so rough though. Like, knowing their fate and what's gonna happen to them, and then them trying to ask, like, what happened? Tell us.
相当無稽だ。とても信じられたものじゃない。
そうだね。正直想像すらつかない部分も多いよ。ベーネス様はどう思います？
最初の週末がいつどうして起こったのかが正確でない以上、現時点では真偽を判断する材料がありません。ですから全て真実であるという前提に立って、なぜ私がそうしたのかを考えていました。大衆と14人委員会が選んだ道、それに反してハイデリンを作り出す理由を、少なくとも今の私でははっきりと説明できません。もちろんその時になってみないとわからないことも多いでしょうが、簡単に下せる決断ではなかったはず。何かもう少しそうするしかなかった要因があるように思えるのです。それからなぜあなたにエルピスの花をしるべにしろと言ったのか。花そのものや追う過程が大事だったとも考えられますが、あなたがここへ至っている以上、エルピスという場所にもきっと何かがある。それが何なのか、私はあなたに何をすべきなのか。
そっちについてはこうも考えられませんか？彼らの歴史においては終末は不可避となり、もう星から逃げるしかない。せめてその未来について私たちに伝えておくことで、別の歴史が生じる可能性を作りたかったとか。
確かに理屈としてはあり得る話です。けれどそれが主たる目的なら、わざわざエルピスに誘導する理由がない。留守である可能性を考慮しても、私の家にするか14人委員会のいるアーモロートを選ぶ方が賢明でしょう。
まあそうか。彼はそのハイデリンってものから向かうべき時を指定されたわけじゃない。となれば私たちと出会えるかどうかは重要じゃなかったというわけですね。
あるいはこの偶然とも思える出会いが果たされることに何らかの根拠を持ってかけていたのかもしれませんか。
パズルをしようにも重要なピースが足りてないみたいだ。
確かな事実があるとすれば、終末が聞いた通りのものならば、それは私にとってかけがえのないものを焼き払おうとしています。そんな事象を前にして長い時間も費やして用意した手段が逃げるだけ。普通ならまず終末を完全に退ける方法を考えるはずでしょう。
それは14人委員会でも果たせなかったことですし、不可能だと考えたのでは？
私は不可能を信じていない。ハイデリンが私なのであれば、それだけは揺るぎない事実だと思います。
よくもまあ、こんな妄言に出てくる自分を本当に自分だと思えたものだな。私は納得していない。できるものか。この良き時代がそんなわけのわからない終わりを迎えるだと。大体そいつの語る私はおよそこの私とかけ離れているじゃないか。同胞たちがゾディアークに命を捧げたとして、星のためであったなら人として誇るべきことだ。 だというのに、私が在りし日の町を模しただと。そんなものは彼らの行いへの冒涜だろう。お前をそこに招き入れた理由も全く理解ができない。自ら計画失敗の要因を作ったようなものじゃないか。確かにこの時代の復活なんてものを背負わされると思うと嫌で嫌で仕方がない。腹の底からうんざりする。だが自分からそれを投げ出すような真似を私がすると。随分と侮ってくれたものだな。世まいごとはもう十分だ。私は仕事に戻る。二度と邪魔をするな。
エメトセルク、ちょっと待ってよ。
もう一つ聞かせてください。ここまでエルピスを見てきて何か気になったことはありませんでしたか？デュナミス、エーテルとは異なる力ですね。ええ、私も専門ではありませんが理解はしています。そして局長であるヘルメスがメーティオンを作るにあたってそれを研究していると。詳しく調べてみる価値はありそうですね。そうと決まれば行動あるのみです。今はまだ欠けているピースがきっとこの地にある。それを手にした時、未来の私が描いた絵の全容が、あなたが受け取るべき答えが導き出せるでしょう。私にもどうか協力させてください。大丈夫。彼が私の知るアゼムから聞かされた通りの彼ならば、きっとこのままお別れにはならないわ。
Dude. Shall we begin our investigations then? I am acquainted with Hermes, of course, but only as a visitor received by the chief overseer of Elpis, of the man himself. I know only that which is common knowledge, thus I suggest we fall back on the tried and true method of conversing with the locals. The observers who live here can surely tell us more of Hermes and Meteon, and I have a good idea of where we might begin. To the woman standing in front of yonder building, her name is... It's me! Ismeen? She is the one who made arrangements for my stay in Elpis, and from what I recall, she has held her position here for quite some time. Chances are she can provide us with some insights. Go and ask her questions. I will help with drawing out answers if need be, but I leave the choice of topic up to you. Ismeen. Questions? For me? Well, I suppose I have no other pressing duties at the moment. It's a Marvel. Greetings, Ismeen. My friend here is desperately curious about Chief Hermes, and I was wondering if you might indulge them. Certainly, Mistress Vanat. Anything to be of service. What do you wish to know? we've already seen what kind of person he is, so... What are his interests? His interests? Well, he is an authority on flying life forms and has expansive knowledge of living creatures in general. Is that what you wish to know? How would you describe him as a person? As a colleague? Oh, she just asked the other option. He is a quiet man, reserved, you might say, and occasionally somewhat poor with his choice of words. His reticent nature, however, does not prevent him from carrying out his duties as chief overseer. I hope that answers your question. Was there anything else? How long has Meiteon been here? Oh, I know that. Because he said he's made other ones, other versions of her. I cannot rightly say. As the chief's personal creation, Meiteon has not been subjected to observation and studied like the other creatures. No, I had Otto on. So one day she was simply there. And what do you make of her abilities? I understand that she is a highly unusual familiar, able to read emotions and communicate directly with one's mind. Exactly how she was created with that talent, however, is a mystery to me. My apologies. I wish I could explain her nature in more depth, but I've not had occasion to discuss it with Chief Hermes. Do you trust him? I beg your pardon? I've known Chief Hermes for many years. Though I cannot say we are close, he has never withheld information to the detriment of our duties, if that is what you mean. Forgive us, we seem to have veered slightly off course here. Is there perhaps someone else who could tell us more about Meiteon? That would be... Timaeus. He has a similar expertise with flying concepts and is more eager to discuss the subject. You'll find him conducting his observations on the banks of the stream somewhere to the east. Oh, and unless you take a particular joy in rambling discourse, I suggest you keep your questions concise. We shall keep that in mind. Thank you for your patience and your insight. Think nothing of it. If there is aught else you need during your stay, please do not hesitate to ask. Come, I think we've taken enough of Ismin's time. Our investigation's off to a fine start, wouldn't you agree? From here, I propose that we split up. I shall continue making inquiries with the resident observers, and you could track down the colleague Ismin mentioned. Although I felt compelled to take the reins of that previous conversation, your, fearless style of interrogation will eventually lead you to the answers you seek. All I ask is that you watch your footing around the stream. We can meet back here once you finish speaking with this... Timaeus. Yes, I'm... Yes, I am Timaeus, but please keep your voice down. You'll startle the birds. Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about other job leveling. So, what does it use to speak about? What do you think of Chief Hermes' flying creations? Chief Hermes' work, a worthy subject indeed. Those beings which soar through the clouds, majestic and graceful, are ever a favourite of creators. Even now, with so many varieties in existence, the flood of newly imagined concepts continues unabated. What sets the Chief's creations apart, however, is how they benefit from his boundless knowledge of the celestial realm. Birds that climb so high that they disappear from view, others which traverse the boundary sky, movements and all without riding the currents. I know of none, save he who can conceive of such marvels. Even we who prize elegance of form above all else are dumbfounded by his genius. Meiteon too is a marvel, then? My opinion on that matter would be superficial at best. Despite my admiration for Meiteon as a concept, I have never delved too deeply into the inner workings of her nature. I know that she has a gift for communicating via emotions, but otherwise, her abilities are a mystery to me. If Chief Hermes should choose to submit Meiteon's concept to the Bureau of the Architect, then will the design be registered? Then will the design be registered for public scrutiny? Analyzing a colleague's creation before that step is frowned upon, to say the least. Of course, if he came to me, a fellow artisan looking for advice, that would be an entirely different story. Do you know Dynamis and Enteleki? Dynamis and Entelekis, I don't know how to say that. Those terms do sound vaguely familiar. Was there not a flower made here in Opus which exhibited properties of one or another? It must have been centuries since I last didn't even speak of such things. Has there been a resurgence in interest? Nope. Then why bring up the subject? I'm flattered that you sought my insight, but I cannot afford to neglect my duties for the sake of idle chatter, and I really must turn to my observations. Surely you have your own tasks to attend to? Back already? That was quick work. You are obviously clever enough to head off any of that rambling Ismi mentioned. So, have you any new findings to share? I see. Even an expert in the field had little understanding of Meiteon's capabilities, let alone an awareness of Dynamis. My questions resulted in much the same answers. Hermes' colleagues view Meiteon as his personal subject and can provide no details beyond those which you just told me, which leads me to believe that the only person with any significant knowledge of Dynamis is Hermes himself. Yes, we've made some progress here, but more information is needed if we are to reach any definitive conclusions. At present, the strongest link we have to the final days is the power of Dynamis, and the intellikeys which can control it. Yet most scholars are only vaguely aware of these terms, let alone study them in any depth, except for Hermes, it seems. Thus I am inclined to stay our current course and learn all we can about the Chief Overseer and his familiar. And on that subject, was there aught else of note you can tell me about Meteon, aside from her unorthodox method of communication? Genesis New Journey. I kinda don't really want to be telling her this, but... Echo! I rather wish you had mentioned that earlier. In any event, would you care to elaborate? I don't really want to tell her. Oh, I accidentally clicked. Look, I already had my mouse pressed down and I lifted my hand off. Thank you. Though a mystery at hand remains unsolved, I feel I've touched upon a vital clue, one we should keep in mind as we continue. Next, I propose we take ourselves to Peripetia Crystalline, not far from here. Just follow the path to the west. This tower and the one further along are both part of Peripetia Crystalline, the facility where they archive all of Opus's observational and testing records. Despite how they appear from the outside, the interior is actually a vast area of magically interconnected spaces, which, while fascinating, is not the reason we are here, is it? I shall cut my architectural lesson short and see what those two archivists have to share. If you can find someone to speak with over at the other tower, I shall join you there anon. Peripetia. You have questions for me? Certainly. Just a moment while I conclude my current appointment. Welcome to Endwalker. Indeed. So if you could provide a comprehensive log of those behaviors, we should then have sufficient data for our official records. Now, what was it you wished to speak with me about? The Chief Overseer's personal research project. And by that, I assume you mean Meteon? Such undocumented studies are difficult to track. After all, hardly a day goes past without seeing a researcher trailed by one creation or another. I'm afraid I can't tell you exactly when Meteon appeared, only that she now spends much of her time at Chief Hermes' side. Although, I do recall an interesting tale my dear Scalene shared with me. Ah, Galen is my partner and a fellow researcher here in Elpis. Galen? She was returning late one night when she caught sight of Chief Hermes sending Meteon heavensward. Title screen. A host of them. For several days she would speak of that scene with wonder, describing it as one of the most beautiful spectacles she had ever witnessed. That sounds like a story I should like to hear. Mr. Svenat, I thought you had already returned to the surface. Permit me to thank you again for your invaluable contribution to our concept placement proposal. Pray do not mention it. As you say, my original plan was to leave after that task, but I've since become engrossed with Chief Hermes' research. Would you favor me with a retelling of this site which so delighted your Galen? Of course, or you could hear it from her lips directly if you prefer. At present, she should still be observing a subject in Metabaseus the Lassie. She does enjoy her time there, watching the sea creatures hunt and play, gazing upon the salty waters of the world's oceans, recreated in such sublime detail. I imagine you must find similar joy in indulging your boundless curiosity, Mistress Vanat, even though such pursuits must continually and regretfully delay your return to the star. Indeed they do. 'Tis a rest well deserved and long overdue, I should think. How greatly have we prospered for the wisdom you accumulated during your travels, as it seemed. And what would Opus be without your earlier academic work? The theories you developed served as the basis for many techniques still in use today. Man is a creature of contemplation, but none embody that nature with as much enduring passion as you. I dare say there is not a soul alive more worthy of a return. I shall rejoice the day you depart on your final journey. I will be honored. Well, shall we take this opportunity to meet with Galen in person? Then allow me to reconfigure the door to the archives here. It will take you up to the Skyway and spare you the need to avoid hostile concepts on the ground. That would be most helpful, thank you. I've opened the path to the Skyway. Once you pass through the door, simply walk straight across to the next tower and ask for admittance to the upper tier. Upon arriving at the upper tier, walk straight across the Skyway and you will find yourself at the entrance to Metabaseus the Lassie. Galen will be eager to share her tale with you, I'm sure. Mr. Svenat, just passing through. It will allow me to prepare the path. If you need further assistance, there is always an observer or two out on the upper Skyway. Mr. Svenat, I was not told to expect. We would have prepared an official welcome. Please, there is no need for fanfare. I only wish to speak with Galen, if that might be arranged. Yes, Galen, of course. I will inform her immediately. But she may be engaged in a testing phase. You could be in for something of a wait. Should I let her know your business is urgent? That won't be necessary. This lovely view will keep us occupied until she is ready to receive us.
風が心地いい。それにとても綺麗。あなたのいた未来の世界も変わらず美しいですか？
Not this pretty. I don't want to make her sad and be like, it sucks, but comparatively, this is better. It's clear.
エルピスは私たちから見ても特に美しい場所ですから、比べる相手が良くなかったかもしれませんね。
Good point, good point.
よければ待つ間にあなたの旅の話を聞かせてください。ここに至った経緯については教えてもらいましたが、今度はもっと取り留めのないあなただけの旅の話を。ハイデリンの目的を明らかにするため、未来の世界を知りたいという意図もありますが、何より同じ旅人として興味があるのです。知らない場所に行った人から話を聞きたいと思うのは私たちのサガでしょ。
They always have to throw something in about her Schwant. Every time. Always.
そんなことがあるだなんて、はあ、私も見てみたかった。なんて不自由で厳しい世界。けれどそこに生きる人々のなんと愛しいことでしょう。人はそんな風にもなれる。可能性の輝きは彼方でもやっぱりきらめき続けている。ありがとう。とびきり素敵なお話でした。先ほども少し話に出ていましたが、私はもともと世界の成り立ちを追い求める学者だったのです。エーテルとは何？物はどうしてこんな形をしているの？私たちの始まりは？世界はそういった謎に満ちている。いくつかにはそれらしき答えを出しもしました。けれど突き詰めていくほどに驚きは増すばかり。世界の法則が今のようであり、私たちが存在していることはまさしく奇跡のような必然だったのです。 遥か天地を巡り移ろいながら悠久を渦巻く熱がこうして私やあなたという形をとっている。それがどれほどの確率の出来事か思えば、想像できる範疇のことなんて何も不可能ではないように感じるのです。そう気づいた時、急激にこみ上げてきた思いが私の当たり前を打ち砕きました。何かとてつもなく大きなもの、運命だとかそういうものに命が、人が愛されているのだという感覚。同時にあまたの奇跡と不確定な可能性の上にある今がひどく脆いもののようにも思えました。私は誰かに何かに会いたくなって思わず飛び出した。この瞬間に輝く世界を見て聞いて感じて、もっともっと知りたいと考えたのです。
聞いて感じて、
それが遠い昔の旅の始まりでした。当たり前が取り払われた世界は何もかもが新鮮でとても美しかった。眼前に広がる地平、吸い込まれるような空、静かだけれど力強い自然の息遣い、それらの合間に人の営みが明かりを灯し、ことの葉を響かせる。そんな光景に胸が温かくなった。何より出会う人そのものがたまらなく好きだった。だから皆のためにできることをしていたら帰るに帰れなくなってしまったのです。もしかしたら未来の私もハイデリンも探し続けているのかもしれませんね。生きる理由ではなく死ぬことができる理由を、多くの可能性を持ち、故にこそ時に迷える人を、もう大丈夫だと思える瞬間を。この星の未来に生きるあなた、未だ人の行く末を問い手放せずにいる私にどうか答えて。あなたの旅は良いものでしたか？
すみません、遅くなりました。お待たせしてしまって本当にごめんなさい。観察対象がこんな時に限って暴れちゃって。
お仕事お疲れ様です。おかげでのんびり話もできましたから気にしないで。
I
あ
really
りが
want
と
to
うござ
trust
いま
her.
す。それで私に聞きたいことというのは？
I want to, but
実はヘルメスの作ったメイティオンに興味があるのです。あなたは大勢の彼女が飛ぶところを見たとか。
なんだそのことでし
no,
た
it's
か。
not because of that.
ええ、しっかと見ました
No,
とも。
I've been feeling like this for
あの日は
Why
夜の
without
観察
her?
があったので六曜院を出たのが夜半過ぎだったんです。なんとなく星空を見上げながら歩いていたら、南東の方角に天へと昇る逆さまの流星がピカッと
ピカッと。
いくつか立て続けに流れていったものだから、私もっとよく見えるところを探してこの島の端まで行ったんです。そしたら少し先の島にヘルメスとたくさんのメイティオンたちがいて、そのメイティオンたちが夜空へと飛んでいく姿が 逆さまの流星の正体だったんです。
なるほど。それについてヘルメスと話をしたことは？
あまりに綺麗な光景だったので、翌日すぐにどんな設計で何のために飛ばしているのか聞きに行ったんです。でもまだ個人的な実験の途中だから情報を共有する段階にないって言われちゃって、だから私も話してもらえる日を待ってるところなんです。ヘルメスは今も時折あの浮島に行っているようですから、実験自体は進んでいるんじゃないかと思いますよ。
状況はよくわかりました。私たちも話が聞けるのを楽しみに待ちたいと思います。お伺いしたかったのはそれだけです。仕事の最中にお呼び立てしてしまって申し訳ありませんでした。
いえいえ、同じことを気にしている方に会えて嬉しかったです。あ、このまま下に降りますか？でしたら扉をおつなぎしますけど。
ではお言葉に甘えて。
Yeah, the reason why I don't trust her, I mean, I feel like it's pretty obvious. Like, we found out that she's a primal, and then we found out she was actually an Ashian, and she hid all of this information, and we've quite literally just straight up caught her lying to us and exaggerating and trying to tell us that Zodiark is evil and Zodiark must be stopped and all this stuff, when really killing Zodiark is what sparked the final days. And she's just not being honest or forthcoming with any sort of information. She's being very as vague and cryptic as possible. At least Heidelin is, not necessarily Vinault. Not her here, but Heidelin. So another piece of the puzzle falls into place. From what we've learned thus far, I think we can safely conclude that Hermes hasn't been revealing the details of his research to the others, which suggests that either someone will appropriate his discoveries and make use of them, or that Hermes himself will have a hand in causing the final days. Since we have no reason yet to suspect the former, we should consider the latter and the more likely possible. Proceeding under that assumption, our next step should be to divine why, or even if he might desire such a terrible fate for our star. I should like to visit the site from which Hermes sent forth the Matea. If we are fortunate, we might find some hint of what drives this research of his. Galeen said she spotted them in the southeast, rising from an isle she could see from the edge. If we stand at that same vantage point, it should not prove too difficult to locate the island question. Let's take a look, shall we? It's gonna be the Cherry Blossom Island. Oh! Now, if I were conducting some mystery research, where would I go? Sakura! What about that one? Have you the means to fly? It is quite a distance away. Inconvenient, but hardly an insurmountable problem. To me, Argos. Well. My friend, would you mind creating a double to carry Clarissa here over to that island? I'll go time. Stubborn creature. There is no place on this great star we have not together traveled, and still he remains obstinate in the presence of strangers. Argos has rather exacting standards, I'm afraid. What? You've ridden him before? Oh, your before meaning my after. Not at all confusing, that. Interesting. 'Tis certainly not unthinkable. But speaking of the here and now, the quick solution is for us to face off in a sparring match. Demonstrate to him that you are capable of holding your own against me in battle, and you should convince Argos that you are worthy of his back. Ah? And besides, I might even teach you a thing or two in the bargain. Ah? You seem doubtful, but useful lesson or not, it will certainly be a moment to remember, a memory of the distant past to cherish. Ah? What say you, traveler out of time? And if this memory turns out to be a bad one? That's up to you, isn't it? If a loss would sting, then you had better win. Clear your mind and prepare your weapons. I will await you at the clearing over yonder. Ah?
しがらみは断たれよ、観覧は注げ。汝の意志をここに示さん。
Pretend me?
耐え抜きましたか。未来の旅人もしたたかですね。十分です。手合わせはここまでにしておき
Yeah,
ま
well,
し
I
ょう。
haven't seen enough. But you like this, Argos? Oh.
「膝くらいはつかせるつもりでいたのですが、甘かったですね。確かアゼムと手合わせした時もそうでした。
Also, some only got in because of fucking
私の半分も生きていないのにたくましいこと。
tab targeting. I tried to tab to the ones in front of me and it tabbed away.
言葉で語ってくれたのよりもずっと困難の連続だったということでしょう。お互いに実りの多い旅をしてきたようですね。
No, it wasn't lag, it was tab targeting. If you're gonna make fun of me for saying it was tab targeting GIF, I'm gonna pull up the VODs of you killing people's dolls and blaming tab targeting.
あら、あなたを乗せてくれる気になったのかしら。よかったですね。その子、一度懐いた相手のことは忘れませんよ。これでいつでも背中を貸してくれるはずです。
Into the wall the one time. Argos will soon have us standing on the very spot where the Metea made their departure into the night sky. With luck, we will learn something of Hermes' intentions. I think that's what that said. I clicked way too fast. My hope is that we will find no connection, no festering wish for oblivion. Then we might have Hermes and his considerable expertise working for us, rather than against us. This picture. Let us move over to the edge before mounting, shall we? That will allow Argos to catch the currents rising up from below and give us a smooth ride over to the isle. I love this music. Do, 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 do.
小さな島ですね。これといって特別な機材もない。仕方がありません。過去が見られるか試してみましょう。やったことはありますか？あるけれど自在に操れるわけではないと。でしたら私が補助しましょう。もう少し近くへ。私のすぐ前に立ってください。過去を見るには大まかに2つの手段があります。一つは当人がその記憶を想起している時に心の壁を越えて伺い見る方法。もう一つが 場のエーテルに刻まれた記憶を読み解くという方法です。魂に記憶が刻まれていくように、世界に満ちるエーテルにだって歴史は刻まれていくのです。もっともそういったものは消えやすいので、必ず読み取れるとは限りませんが、ともかくやってみましょう。さあ、目を閉じて。
いずれの個体にも損傷はなし、順調にそれぞれが目的とする星に向けて飛んでいます。およそ108サイクル後、全ての調査を終え、報告を送信する予定です。今回の伝達事項は以上。共有意識への接続を終了し、自我を復旧します。だって、ヘルメス、順調。よかったね。
よかったね。
はあ、本当によかった。ここまで失敗の連続だったからな。宇宙は常に予想を上回ってくる。人は未だ真理を掴んでなどいないのだと痛感させられ
でも私たちみんなで試行錯誤いっぱいした。だから調査ちゃんと終わる。
た。そうだな。君たちの頑張りのおかげだ。
どんな答え返ってくるかな。生きる理由、命の意味、なんだろうね。
この中にはアーテリスよりずっと進んでいる星も、まだまだ原始的な星もあるだろう。築いてきた文化は違うだろうし、それどころか形状すら異なる知的生命がいるかもしれない。だとしたらきっとこの星で信じられているのとは全く別の命の捉え方をしているのではないかと思う。
全く別のはどんな？
想像もつかないな。けれどどんな答えが届いたとしても頭ごなしに否定したりせず考えていきたい。みんなに伝えて弁論してもらうのもいいだろう。その先で人だけじゃない一つでも多くの命が幸せを知れたらいいと思うんだ。メーティオン、自分は君に飛び方を教えたが、歩き方は、生命としての生き方は到底教えられなかった。しかし長い長い旅の果てに君はきっとそれを知る誰かに出会うだろう。そうして答えを得て再びここへ帰ってきた時には君を大いにたたえねぎらおう。
砂糖ドバドバのリンゴで？
君は食べられないじゃないか。何か形にした方がいいのならそうだな。花を、いつかこの旅をやり遂げた君に心から花を贈ろう。
どう思いますか？
My opinion is that I want to know who the hell fucked him up so badly. Because he did not deserve it.
そうですね。優しくとも彼の計画が望み通りの形で進むかどうかはまた別の話でしょう。何か意図しない事故や見落としがあって終末につながる要因を作ってしまう可能性も十分にある。そこで次の手を提案させてください。ヘルメスにもあなたの真実を、終末のことを話してみるのはどうでしょうか。本人に最悪を望む意志がないのであれば、それを阻止すべく知恵や力を貸してくれるかもしれません。それでは急いで彼を探さなければいけませんね。あの優しい人たちが悲しい宿命に絡め取られてしまう前に、ひとまず元の島まで戻るとしましょう。
There are any number of places where Hermes might be in Elpis. But we could do worse than to look in Tyssus Hyperborea, the largest facility. It stands in Ethoceliticus Boreas, the northern isle. Holy fuck. I wonder, for an institution which claims to studiously research every species destined for release into the world, do not question how they find room for all of them on so few islands. Answer lies within Tyssus itself. I touched upon the practice before back at the archives, where a vast area is stitched together out of multiple conceptual spaces. The same holds true for the interior of this facility and its modularly constructed environs. Yeah, these Greek names are great, dude. Never felt more illiterate in my life. 'Tis there within the sprawling habitats that the chief overseer and most of Elpis' observers conduct the bulk of their work. The simplest route is via the teleporter north of Oitan Oikos. Oh, a biologist. Taxonomist is a biologist, okay. Ah, good. The teleporter acknowledged you as my guest. You should now have the authority to use it as you wish. As to the way to Tyssus Hyperborea, we follow this path and turn left at the crossroads. It's probably not voice acted. Here we are, the grandest research facility in Elpis. We should head inside and ask after Hermes' whereabouts. Sorry. Well, Hermes is at another facility, as we have just discovered. Oh, Emeto. Emeto! Hi, Emmett. I know you're mad at me. Furthermore, we've confirmed that his studies into Dynamis, as well as his creation of Metean, were entirely private pursuits. No one else we spoke with appeared to possess the chief's depth of knowledge on the research, and neither did we hear any tales of stolen research. Which means that if Hermes himself harbors no desire to bring down an apocalypse, then he might be recruited to help prevent one. Or so saith the illustrious Emmett Selk. Please don't be mad. According to your story, the 14 divined the connection between the celestial currents and the final days, but were never able to pinpoint the root cause of the calamity. With our people's greatest minds, not to mention Hythlodaeus' sharp eyes, committed to the pursuit of a solution, such an outcome seems inconceivable. The only possible explanation is if the nature of the catalyst was so inexplicable that even we failed to perceive it. And what better fits that description than the invisible, intangible Dynamis? Which in turn leads us to our next question. How did Hermes How did Hermes, in his role as Fandaniel, not recognize the subject of his own research? We must assume that he either knew and was unable to help, or that he was otherwise prevented from identifying the cause in the first place. At this juncture, all we can do is speculate. To be clear, the Convocation does not tolerate acts of deception or malice. We are practiced at perceiving truth and would have known had Fandaniel lied to us. Hermes has no conscious wish for the world to end. Of that, I am certain. It seems there is more to the tale after all. We conducted an investigation of our own, you see. How comforting. We seem to have reached the exact same conclusion. I see no reason to delay further. 'Tis time we brought Hermes into the fold, as it were. Thank you for your understanding. Please don't be mad at me. Save your thanks. I did not say I believed your ridiculous story. But as Emmett Selk, I have a duty to examine any potential threat to our existence, no matter how ludicrous or personally offensive I may find it. Always f***ing dude. Michael Dace loves f***ing with Emmett.